Emotions ran high from Kabul to Kandahar as Afghanistan secured their first ever spot in a men's senior World Cup semi-final. They did so by defeating Bangladesh by 8 runs. Jonathan Drought's squad navigated a start-stop game marred by rain with impressive bowling performances by Naveen ul Haq and also Rashid Khan, both claiming 4 fours. Now, Bangladesh, of course, tried hard but couldn't stop Afghanistan from securing a thrilling victory. This win also had a lot of cascading effect. This win also eliminated tournament favourites Australia, whose defeat to Afghanistan in the Super 8s followed by the loss to India marked their exit as well. Now scenes of jubilation were also erupted across Afghanistan as Naveen ul Haq took the final wicket. This of course sparked a lot of celebration among players and fans alike. Streets in Afghanistan also were filled with joyous parades, marking this the first time ever that the nation has managed to get into the semi-finals of a major ICC tournament. Now, the triumph has now set up Afghanistan for a semi-final clash against South Africa and Trinidad, while India's top spot in Group 1 has secured them a semi-final against England. This monumental win not only showcased Afghanistan's rising cricketing prowess, but also signaled the end of David Warner's illustrious international career. So clearly there, Afghanistan, of course, marking their victory and also entering the semi-finals. Joining me on the broadcast is my guest, Vedam Jaishankar, who's a sports journalist. Vedam Jaishankar, this is, of course, an incredible victory. What a moment for Afghanistan cricket. Not very long ago, every single victory of Afghanistan in an ICC tournament was considered an upset. Now you got this team entering the semi-final and not just doing it on the back of some narrow victories, but they've been winning big and they've been winning against big teams as well.
Absolutely, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Can you imagine, defeating New Zealand, defeating Australia, defeating Bangladesh? I mean, it's not a fluke. I mean, they've been doing it so consistently, and even other teams have really struggled against these Afghan spinners. And I dare say, if Afghanistan gets about 150 runs and bat first and get about 150 runs, South Africa will struggle against Afghan bowlers because Afghanistan has a terrific bowling unit. Their fielders, and the more than anything else, the spirit and passion they bring into the game is incredible. It's unbelievable the way they fought against Australia, and again the way they fought today. I mean, they were dead and buried today. That's what most of us thought. But the way they pulled it off, this was an incredible win. I think this team, the way the passion that somebody like Rashid Khan brings into the side, and he's passed it on to the other team members, and the way they're exhibiting it is unbelievable. I don't think we've seen this kind of passion and fervor in any other side in the recent past. Really, teams have steamrolled others, yes, but this kind of passion, fighting and fighting it out. I can remember the India-Pakistan match, the first match that we had, when the Indian team put up a splendid show despite being bowled out at such a short, at a small total. I mean, besides that, I think this Afghan team, the way they brought passion into the sport is unbelievable. And, I think this will be remembered for a long, long time, not just for the wins that they've had, but the kind of spirit they have brought into the sport and the kind of passion they have brought into it.
Absolutely. Also, Mr. Vedam, I think one of the reasons why this, of course, is very memorable and very commendable is the kind of conditions that these players see back home. They hardly have any facilities back home. They play their home matches, most of them in India. They hardly have any teams visiting their home grounds. They don't have a home ground advantage as well. Amid all of this, despite, of course, not having the best of conditions back home, a lot of instability politically as well, the fact that they've managed to come to such a tournament and defeat teams like New Zealand, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Australia, it's really a commendable effort, keeping in mind the sort of background that these players come from.
I agree with you 100%. Look at it this way. The Indian government out of goodwill has built a cricket stadium for them in Kabul, but they themselves can't play in Kabul. They can't play in Afghanistan. Taliban has banned cricket as a sport, despite there being so much of passion on the streets. The streets people are so proud of their team. And most of the time, the cricket team is playing either in Delhi or in Dehradun. And their home ground is virtually Dubai. They play in Dubai. You're right when you say that they don't have a home ground. And, they've been toughened that way. I remember, when Sri Lanka in 1995, 96, that was a time when there was a lot of violence in their country, a lot of terrorism in the country, and the team gelled together brilliantly
Right,
because they
exactly.
were all meeting, families, teams. Every day they were meeting at the Taj Samudra in Colombo. They were swimming together, they were eating together. Every evening they spent
I was
together.
just going to ask
But
you
what
that,
they
Mr.
did
Vedam.
was
Does
it
this remind you of
bonded
the
them.
Sri Lankan team from the 1990s? Because there's, of course, a lot of similarity in terms of the conditions and also the sort of X factor players that they have, and also the sort of determination that these players have. Limited resources, but a lot of determination and a lot of confidence and really high quality skill set.
Yes, that they bonded so brilliantly and they were practicing all the time. They were, coordinating with each other, passing on knowledge to each other. And that's exactly what this Afghan team is doing. They're even bringing on their youngsters very well. They're getting a lot of mentoring, they're getting a lot of training. So I think there are a lot of similarities between this team and the high achieving Sri Lankan team of the 90s. So many things, the background, the violence in their country, the unsettled regions, all that helped, and it helped bond the team actually. And this team, I think, has bonded splendidly. And somebody like Rashid Khan, I think, whoever made him the captain, that was a genius move because he brings a sort of passion that I don't think anybody else can conjure. He himself is a magician. He could so easily have decided to forget about Afghanistan and concentrate on franchise cricket. He's one of the most sought after cricketers in the world. Wherever he goes as a franchise cricketer, whether it's in Australia
Right, Mr.
or
Jaishankar,
the
you're appreciating
US League.
Rashid Khan and his captaincy skills, but of course, a lot of questions will be raised against some of his captaincy tactics, which you can, of course, forgive given the fact that it's a new and upcoming team. For example, I'm talking about the fact that there were a lot of singles on offer, especially in the back end of the Bangladeshi innings as well, where they were, of course, trying to get easy singles and get over the line, which could have cost Bangladesh the match and also the tournament. But keeping that aside, how do you look at the progression of Afghanistan here? Now, compare that with Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh has been around for much, much longer than Afghanistan, especially in test match cricket and also longer formats of the game like the ODI. But Bangladesh hasn't made a single semi-final of a tournament like this. But Afghanistan already has. And it's just a completely different arc that Afghanistan has taken from Bangladesh. So, any lessons for Bangladesh? Any particular things that Bangladesh needs to focus on as well? Because clearly Afghanistan has just taken off while Bangladesh seems to be in the same spot that they were 25 years back.
Yeah, but that's because Bangladesh doesn't have the batting skills. They don't have batsmen who can power their way. If you look at the Afghan team, they have power hitters right through. And Bangladesh, although they are a good bowling
Right,
unit, they
right.
don't have the power hitters that Afghanistan have. And that is the biggest issue with Bangladesh. They might do well, but I don't think they will, like you said, they will cross the line or do something extraordinary in white ball cricket. Because unless you have power hitters, it's very difficult to survive in this sport. And I think that's a major, major flaw that Bangladesh has. They must go around and unearth some
Also, how
power
much do you
hitters
think the
and work
politics
on them.
also matters? Because, Mr. Vedam, we saw what happened before the World Cup last year. We had two superstars of Bangladeshi cricket going and meeting, having backdoor meetings, trying to get each other out of the team. The Prime Minister intervened, the top ministers of the country intervened. So a lot of this muddle, this political muddle, do you think also ruins the cricket? Similar thing is happening with Pakistan as well. A lot of politics. You hear more about their political bickering than at the actual cricket that's played on the ground. So is politics again ruining Bangladesh and Pakistani cricket?
I agree with you. 100% I agree with you because you really need to gel as a team. And when you say gel as a team, all the 15 people, the 15 players have to be on board, and move along in one direction. But if somebody is pulling
Exactly.
on a different direction each time, that team is not going to survive. And that's exactly what has happened to Pakistan. And I think the board members have also played a lot of games in Pakistan. Same with Bangladesh. Luckily for Afghanistan, the government doesn't approve cricket, so they have no problem. The government doesn't interfere. It's just left up to these guys to do what they want. There is a board, the board takes decisions, but otherwise it's left up to the cricketers and maybe some senior board members. They've got a good coach, they've got a good bowling coach, people are experienced, and they leave it to them. And I think that's turned out to be a great boon and advantage. Unlike Bangladesh and what you mentioned about Pakistan has never ever have gelled as a team. Maybe the only time they came through as a team was when Imran Khan was
Right.
leading the side. But otherwise, they've never ever gelled as a team.
Right, right. Also, Mr. Vedam, before we wrap this discussion up, let's also talk about the upcoming semi-final, Afghanistan versus South Africa. I never thought I'll say this, but looks like Afghanistan are the favorites right now because South Africa, the matches that they've won, the matches have been very, very close. I mean, they've survived very close calls. Even the full tosses weren't hit. For example, the Bangladesh game, last over, you had Keshav Maharaj doling out three full tosses. Even Bangladesh couldn't convert it. I mean, they've had very, very lucky matches, which usually doesn't happen with South Africa in ICC tournaments. But all said and done, Afghanistan seems to be a much more dominant and a much more settled side compared to South Africa. But well, we can never, I think, count South Africa's pace unit out.
Yeah, but let's not forget that South Africa beat Nepal by 1 run. That says everything that you wanted to say. They beat Nepal by just one solitary run. But you look at it this way. I would think that the only time the Afghan team was under pressure was today, because today they had to win. And the way they were batting in the morning, I thought the pressure had got to them, that they were succumbing to pressure. Because rest of the time, nobody really expected them to win. And, they just had to go hammer and tongs at it, and they did a brilliant job at it. But today was a pressure day, especially when they batted. But the fact that they still came through at the end of it is just great credit to their bowling. So South Africa also,
Absolutely.
I think, if
Mr. Vedam, we are running short of time on the broadcast. Of course, we can keep talking about it. Something incredible has happened in the cricketing world. Asia has now got a new cricketing powerhouse. A lot of people might say that it's very premature to say that, but you look at the quality of the side that Afghanistan has and the determination that they have, and we've seen how Sri Lanka from a similar position has come so far. We can only hope that Afghanistan does repeat that, and of course the BCCI also is aiding them. Appreciate you joining us on the broadcast, sharing your insights on this game, and of course we'll be looking forward to that semi-final and hoping that it's India versus Afghanistan and India makes the cut. Appreciate you joining us on the broadcast.